Hi everyone. Hi Jinha. My name is Pai. I'm the partner of venture capital and head of strategic planning at SCB 10X. And today I'm excited to be here with my speaker today, Jinha Lee, co-founder and chief product officer of Spatial, provider of a social immersive platform. Hi Jinha. Before we delve into more details about today's topic and how spatial help connecting people in a virtual environment to an immersive experience, I would like to know more about your journey. You have a long experience in inventing and designing the future of consumer experience involving mixed reality, even before the term metaverse has become buzzword. So could you briefly tell us a bit about your background and what made you kind of decide to tackle this subject and co-found Spatial?
Sure. First of all, thanks for having me and sharing our journey with the amazing audiences here. So my name is Jinha Lee, and well, as a as a kid, I was always interested in like making things and breaking things, interested in architecture and 3D product design. But then I started my career with like from tech, like started to fuse the engineering and design all the time. And from that angle, like if you look at the computer that we have today, like it always felt like kind of it's very limiting in terms of helping people to create and express themselves. And so I always thought about how do we make the computers like a more creative, like better tool that helps people to express better and create better. So in that sense, I was very interested in AR and the VR technologies. So the spatial, we I founded Spatial with my co-founder 5 years ago. And when we first started Spatial, it actually started as an enterprise collaboration tool for using AR and VR technology, which means that people can wear a headset like a VR AR headset, and you can teleport to anywhere and sit next to each other as a holographic avatar and have collaboration. But when the pandemic hit, we realized that it's not just a few companies, but it's like literally like everyone like who uses internet who's interested in using this kind of new way to connect with others. But the thing is, not everyone had a headset, so we launched for the larger audiences. Like we launched a web version where you can just open a web browser in the computer and still join the 3D virtual space and have meetings. And when we did that, the interesting thing happened. So it's not just a corporate and like professionals who showed interest in using spatial, but it's actually the other kind of community of users who we didn't expect at the beginning, which is the creators who showed a lot of interest in using spatial. So it's increasingly becoming like so-called metaverse for the creators since the pandemic hit, and this artists started coming in and building a kind of awesome art galleries themselves and hold an exhibit and share this art gallery with other people on Twitter. So that's how what we realized basically over the past 2 years. So that's how we started transitioning into more of a creators metaverse and from word collaboration tool. So.
Mm, that's interesting journey, and yeah, I couldn't agree more that especially like with the COVID, I think everyone want to kind of do more about any digital platforms, want to live in it, and I think but I think so for benefit of audience, I think not many people, I think everyone's kind of heard the term metaverse because it's everywhere, but not many people know exactly what it is. And so, and spatial is described as a metaverse for events. So, what does metaverse mean to you, and how do you think that will it affect our lives?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a great question. So there are a lot of definitions for the metaverse, but the way I think about it, and the way we think about it as a company, is that so if you look at how the internet came about, it was invented as a tool for communication, right? Like people exchange their emails and information and knowledge. But I think what metaverse is doing to the internet is it's taking what's invented for communication and turning them into a medium for co-experience. So it's essentially letting people transition from communication to the co-experience. It's like a better way to share us, like share our ideas, but also like experience certain things together without the constraints of space and time. And it's essentially resulting into like letting people to create a deeper connection with each other. It's essentially like same as um, you know uh, like just exchanging a letter versus like drinking coffee together. So those are two different ways to like build connection, right? I think there's a reason why people go to a coffee shop and do something together, even if it's like a smaller activities like drinking coffee or walking together. So, and I think that's what essentially what metaverse is doing to us. And I think it will just continue to evolve into that direction, which Spatial is happy to be part of.
Mm, yeah, I think that it's interesting to hear you say that it's a medium for co-experience. So what is spatial goal or mission in this space?
Right. For now, the way we think about us, our proposition is like we're the metaverse for culture, right? So there are a lot of different metaverses. There are lots of metaverses for gamings, and there's some metaverses just for work, and there are different kind of angles that every different metaverse kind of focuses, which is great because I don't think metaverse will evolve into like the one dominant kind of wall garden platform. It will more like evolve like as different cities. There's like cities like Las Vegas or Disneyland, which I think is a lot of what metaverse is about. But the way I think about spatial, it's like spatial is like building a city like New York or Bangkok, like where the real art thrives and there's a real kind of business and work talk can happen, which means that we want to be the metaverse where the the contents that thrive in spatial is like it has a lot of kind of realism and some it's not just a metaverse for children, but it is something for everyone, including people like us, like adults and like students and professional workers and I think that's basically how we differentiate from a lot of other approaches, but also spatial is trying to be the easiest and simplest way to access and share the immersive experience on internet. So we don't have to download anything. You can just click a link on Twitter, and that lets you to come into this awesome like shared immersive high fidelity space that's created by artists, and or it can be an event about a culture. So yeah, that's how we think about where we're going.
Mm, yeah, actually, I've tried spatial, and it seems a very unique experience. And I could see that there could be a wide range of users from, if I just want to create a virtual meeting with my friend, or, if I want to create an art exhibition in there. So could you elaborate more about your main target customers and perhaps provide a few examples of events or use cases that typically happen in spatial?
Right. So there are multiple segments of customers or users of spatial today. I mean, the dominant the user community is actually the community of artists and the creators who can be artists themselves or collectors who have lots of the 2D or 3D art, like which a lot of it which is NFT today, and so they're they're coming into spatial because it's the best way to showcase the art, which otherwise would be sitting on their Instagram or just 2D kind of platform that people can just go in and like. But now that they're bringing them into like immersive spatial space, they can share this spatial gallery with other people that lets people come in and enjoy them together and hold an exhibit, and also show off their work. They're actually saying that it's fundamentally like deeper, better way to connect with their fans because like previously, even if some of their artists like getting lots of popularity on Twitter, all they get is just more likes and biddings and their view counts going up. But now that they're actually sharing the spatial gallery full of their art, they're actually seeing how their kind of fans are getting excited about their creation and getting like actually connecting and talking with them, almost like having a real gallery opening in the physical galleries. So that's the one big part of our usage. The user about who's interested in art and creators and collectors or like fans of those artists. The other big part of it is like the brand experience there. Um, I mean, the brand, like for example, like McDonald's, like held like a huge kind of event after creating like McDonald's immersive 3D space and hosting, bringing them into Spatial and inviting the people to celebrate this kind of Lunar New Year event. So there's been lots of excitement about those spaces. I think, for example, like the brand like sports team or like a Utah Jazz. They had like a locker room kind of digital model where their fans can come in and have like a parties and have like some after match conversation. And yeah, there so artists and brands are I think two big sort of use cases. But putting that aside, like the general like people who just want to have a better sort of better way to sort of have parties online, which is more exciting than what we do with Zoom. It's less flat, and you can just sit around the campfire and just have a conversation, whether it be like work events or just friends gathering. This immersive gathering aspect of it, it was also like a huge part of our user base.
Got it. So, like creator, community, or artist, brand, and perhaps anyone that just would like to have a better experience than Zoom. Okay, got it. And I think you touched on earlier about the pivoting from, you starting from providing an enterprise collaboration training, and now you kind of pivot end of last year to social space and NFT or non-fungible token, which is a cornerstone of Web3. So I would like to hear more about, your views on what other, I think it's important to lay the foundation between features of Web2 metaverse versus those of Web3. What are similarities and difference between the two, and what spatial strategy considering the emergence of Web3?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great question. So so the Web 2 and Web 3, the few of the key differences include there's definitely the decentralization aspect of it, but also but that's like how it's sort of governed and structured in the back end, which is very important. But what spatial today is like really focused on is not just that, but also like the user experience aspect. What is the what is this kind of new experience that's enabled by Web3? And the way we think about it is like really having like people and space as the center of this new internet. That's how we would think about it. So what does it mean? So the people part is the people. Ever since we started communicating using these internet technologies, like we always had some kind of representation of ourselves that exists on the internet first, right? Whether it be as simple as mouse cursor, or like that could be like little the email kind of ID, or it could be like a little dot on the social media. But now it's evolving on two dimensions. Like one is the actual the visual, which is becoming more and more 3D, but also the real timeness, like that we see the internet becoming more and more real time, where this 3D sort of representation of yourself is not just 3D or more visually impressive, but it is usually like communicating with the rest of the world in real time, and it's responsive. Because I think it's possibly because like more and more people are online. I mean, whether it be actively online or passively online, and then we are sort of now the rest of the society is like really used to the fact that everyone's like always connected in some way. And with that, like we need like a new representation in this new internet, which we call avatars, right? Like it is the 3D version of yourself that's responsive and that can sort of have an appearance that represents like what your value is, not just who you actually are, but also like you can dress up the way that you want, and you can have your change your representation depending on how your value evolves, and I think it's that the people aspect is the real-time avatar becomes a new center of like yourself, but also the other thing is a space. Right now we're living in this internet canvas of the 2D infinite kind of scrollable domain, but I think it's evolving into another dimension, the 3D dimension, and now these avatars will be hanging out with each other, but also like expressing themselves more in a the real manner, a more realistic manner with each other, and sharing the experience, not just sharing knowledge or information. And that's the 3D virtual space is the perfect canvas for this new notion of this shared experience mediated by these 3D avatars, right? So people and avatars become like new sort of center of this internet is how we think about it. And I think what spatial has is honestly like just scratching the surface of what it can be. I think especially where yes, we run on the headset, but also a lot of users are using us on the 2D platform. But as the 3D AR or VR display becomes like really kind of dominant way to see the computers, and I think it will actually mean a lot more than what it does today. And yeah, I think we're just laying out the foundation for that future as well.
I think that's interesting because yeah, people will be centered here. And what are some of the things that you plan to develop, especially for Web3 and around this area?
Sorry, would you mind repeating that question again? Yeah.
What are some of the things that you plan to develop around this, in terms of future development that you can share with us? Yeah.
Yeah, there are actually a lot a lot of different kind of things I can talk about. And yeah, I think the few things that we're really focused on right now is like, can we like make the kind of spatial as kind of fast as the website? And that's like it sounds boring, but it actually has a lot of implication. Like imagine that instead of going to a web page of a company, like you actually immediately kind of run loads like a 3D space of the company and have instead of like a store of this car company, you load this car company.com and you come into the retail store, like visiting the store where there's like actual avatars explaining what the kind of product is about instead of just having 2D website. So like really making it spatial, performant, and fast, as fast as like the regular website, which has an implication of really kind of renovating the whole internet so that the more and more contents can actually live and breathe in this kind of 3D shared space. So turning like what we have into like almost like shared social like website level performance kind of experience is one of our big initiative. We're also always investing on a better way to represent people. Like how do we allow people to like represent themselves, like customize their avatars, and that could mean like clothing or wearables or could be NFT. And there are a lot of investment that's being made on that self. Our current avatar today is actually inherited from what we had in AR and VR kind of days, which is actually still like very functional, but we want to go to like a next level, like and think about like what that means. Um, and yeah, I think the other thing is like we're constantly making efforts into making this making like the job of creators easy, like letting them upload and share their 3D space on spatial like easier than before. I mean, it's still pretty simple and straightforward, but we're all making it even easier so that regular people like us can uh, build 3D space and really use that as whichever way that they want. And that's a spectrum of focus that we have right now.
Got it. Since you touched on the AR and VR experience, I would like to know more about your view on this. Like, what is your view on the VR adoption, and is it an important factor to create an immersive experience?
It's a great question. So spatial actually has started with AR, VR first and web second, and then we gradually kind of shifted to a like more web and not less VR, but just more web. We kept VR. We always do work on the VR experience, and every time we launch, we made sure that the experience is great in VR and not on AR and VR. Um, and I think the way, and then if you look at our data, it's roughly like, 1 to 3, like one, I think 2/3 or 3/4 are web or mobile 2D platform, and then 1/3 or 4th is the VR. And yeah, we continue to see it as like an important part of this future of computing. And we actually think it's in 2 to 3 years we'll see like more and more like very lightweight headset that people can use at least indoor, like at workplace and things as a display replacement. And I think until the day comes, it's going to be hard for people to see that it's coming. But once it hits, like it will be pretty transparent, like apparent that it's a more immersive and cheaper like way to access the computers than buying a monitor, for example. And I think it could so we see that it's like an important part of the future, and we do want to build and design the features that we have in a way that it's future proof, that it can run always on VR and web at the same time. And even today, like VR is the best way to experience most of the galleries and events, and people like try Spatial on web and they love it, but when they go VR and see the same gallery in the 3D immersive space, they're like not, they just like completely like lose their mind and really get jaw dropped and love it. And I think it's just a headset today isn't like ready for like super massive adoption, and we want to make sure that we invest in a platform that helps eventually the billions of people. And just we see today the web is a little more important, but we're always like keeping our eyes on the VR as well.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I actually tried both Spatial on website, and then also try Oculus, and I think it's totally different. Yeah, couldn't agree more on that, on how its impact on the immersive experience. So since you with all the development in this space, I think Spatial seems to face competition, from both Web2 companies, like we see Facebook announcement of Meta, and then we also see Web3 companies like Decentraland and Sandbox, that their land sales went skyrocketing. So what's your view on the competition today, and how would play out in the near future, and what Spatial, how Spatial differentiate itself?
Oh, right. So yeah, the competition is heating up, and which is generally great things. So, like we're actually kind of always like excited to see generally the industry to evolve, and the companies getting investment, not just ours, but other investors, or other the companies. And yeah, I think, for example, like when Meta announced their pivot into the metaverse and changing their name, I think the general industry got a lot of boost. And whether it meant like their valuation going up, getting more investment, or their kind of interest in terms of the talented engineers flowing into the metaverse kind of work, like the Web3 and metaverse. And I think for now, the way we see like how we differentiate ourselves is following. It's like one, there are two categories of metaverse, especially the non-gaming metaverse, which is one is like the metaverse that you can run on web very fast, and but not it means like the fidelity of the experience is not like very high resolution. It could be like very blocky, or it could mean like low resolution, which is good and bad. I guess it's good because it's easy for users to create the content, but also experience itself is not ready for the general public. There's like fast, easy to run, you don't have to download, but like kind of low fidelity metaverse. There's another kind of set of metaverses, which is uh, it's super high fidelity, like very immersive, like high resolution graphics and very fast frame rate. But you have to spend like 30 minutes to an hour to download and set up and create ID and all that. So in some way, Spatial is trying to hit the kind of middle ground, or more of a good, like a good part of like both ends. Like we today, like we're accessible by a click. So if you can share your gallery on link on Twitter, you can just click it, and in 15 seconds, like you can actually load the high resolution kind of immersive experience immediately on your browser without any download and everything. So that's where we see like our edge continue to like exist. Like we're fast, accessible, but still as immersive and as high resolution graphics than compared to other competitors. And that's why a lot of like artists continue to kind of flow into spatial metaverse and build their galleries, because it's the easiest way to share, not just the easiest way to create, but share to the rest of the world who's inside or outside of metaverse. And I think and overall, like we're very keen to collaborate with all the metaverse kind of companies and platforms to create this interoperable future with the good standard. That means that you can teleport from one metaverse to another, and we just actually started some kind of initiative or alliance that started this kind of conversation with other players in this metaverse field, and which we're very excited about.
Got it. Um, so I think we are almost run out of time here, and perhaps could you share your final thoughts on, future developments and trends in this space? Like, what are key areas or technologies that you hope to see more to improve the user experience of the metaverse? And I think you touched on a bit in terms of the speed. And is there anything else?
Yeah. Yeah, I guess we already touched on the technology side a lot. I think putting aside technology and overall, like in some way, this is my sort of kind of thought as a designer that it is a metaverse is generally about liberating us from the constraints. But I think because of that, it's really important to um, design the right kind of constraints. I feel like when you think about the job of the designer in the metaverse, it's actually not about designing another way to liberate people, but it is about what constraints or rule that we can kind of creatively kind of bring into the very kind of free immersive space. So I think I would love if the designers and developers are as interested in like what it can do, but also like to what it should do in terms of whether it be moderating the user behavior, like what are the healthy sort of like social behavior in the metaverse, and make the right amount of investment on those user behaviors as well. And yeah, so that would be my final thought. Like,
Yeah, I think the one of the challenges that I can see is the identity part of our avatars that walk around in the social space. I think that's definitely one of the areas that I think I want to see more development. And I think lastly, for the benefit of audience, what's the best resource for people who want to know more about spatial?
yeah, absolutely. So I guess reach out to us. Like if you go to spatial.io, like there's a link for Discord and email. But also like, yeah, I mean, we're very interested in kind of Asian kind of it's like there in Thailand, particularly there are a lot of increasing interest in like using metaverse and spatial. So we're very interested in like talking to more users from Thailand and Asia in general. And yeah, that's yeah, just reach out to us on our email, Discord, or Twitter, and we're always here to talk.
All right. Thank you so much, Jinha. I think we are run out of time. Thank you.
Thank you so much.